Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on another episode of the Trim Mix podcast. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you've decided to come along on this adventure. And today, we're going to be talking about the concept of funny. So I hope you're ready for a good chuckle. I don't know if we'll quite get you to laugh, but we'll get a little snicker out of you. So, gentlemen, let's get funny.
For the first joke of the day, where's Joy? Are we gonna do that joke or no? Are we not gonna do that joke? I'm fine with doing it, but I don't know if you guys think it's too risky.
You can just talk about it. I mean,
talk about it. You know, we're talking about
the joke. Well, Joy is probably in the kitchen right now. So anyway, before we started this episode, we were gonna do a joke where, well, I made the joke, and then we said we should do it on the podcast. But Joy was being a little what would you call it? Like, not insulting me, but like
facetious.
Facetious, yes. And so I said, Joy, you should get back in the kitchen where you belong. And everybody laughed. And I was like, well, if I said this with certain people, they wouldn't know it's a joke, and I would get bashed for it. But it's like, it's kind of, even if there are some people who still would get offended, even though it is just a joke. And it's like, if it's a joke, and because the reason it's funny is because it's so ridiculous, like, who would actually think that? And so that's why it's funny, at least for us, and we all know that we're joking. But even if you did know that and you still found it not funny, like, is a joke funny or not? Because it's like, it's funny to some people, funny to not other people. And so, like, that brings up the question, is there a way to like, not censor, but also like limit humor, to be like, all right, these topics are funny, but these ones aren't, because that's what a lot of the time it feels like people are trying to do. And it, based on what it looks like from just that brief description I gave, it seems like you can't actually do that because it's subjective. It's like flavors of ice cream. Like, some people may not find certain jokes funny, or certain types of jokes funny, like dark humor. And so it's like, on one hand, it'd be like, oh yeah, of course it's subjective. But then when you actually hear some of the really messed up jokes out there, it's like, oh, that's not funny. Like, that shouldn't be a joke, or that. And it's like, you can't have this double standard of both of those. So you have to take a position of either you can't censor humor, or there are certain boundaries that you can't cross with humor. And I am of the opinion that you can't. That it's just it's up to the person's individual tastes, and so you can't put a boundary line on humor, because even if some people don't find it funny, there's probably somebody out there that would, or that maybe they're not even alive today, or maybe they're going to be alive in the future, that would find it funny. And so, but then at that point, it's like, what makes a joke then? Like, because there is a science behind humor. Like, you have people who study the different things, and it's like, like right now, if somebody thought what I was saying right now was funny, would that still be considered a joke, or would that just be that they're nuts? So
yeah, exactly.
It is an interesting, it's a fine line almost, but at the same time, you gotta have definitions, but then also not have the boundaries of the definition put boundaries on the concept itself, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you even have people like comedians talk about, like, there's interviews with some comedians talking about how they've had to change their sets and sometimes their style, not their personal style, because then that wouldn't be them anymore, but like their palette of comedy, depending on the audience. Like, you always want to work your audience. So does that mean that does that mean that they don't have what's the word? Like, not a good humor compass, you know? Or like, you know how people lack a moral compass? Do some people have lack a comedic compass?
You
But
mean
I
like
think that
comedians or the audience?
comedians, and because, you know, if like you would think that would, you know, shrink in their integrity if they change the way that they deliver jokes or the type of jokes that they do depending on the audience. But really, I mean, they're doing their job, you know. Like,
Sure.
they're trying to make sure people have the most amount of time. Now, of course, like, this doesn't go to the extreme. It's always in a very subtle kind of way. And, you know, because it kind of fluctuates between, you know, okay, do I do more jokes? You know, sometimes it's generational. So would more younger people get this rather than older people jokes? Because if it's older people jokes and you have a room full of, you know, college, high school age kids, then, you know, it's not, a lot of those jokes aren't going to land.
True.
But then if you're taking it to the logical conclusion, though, you know, of and go to the extremes, the logic should still hold up, but for some reason social convention keeps all that at bay for some reason.
And also sometimes you have people who like get the joke, but they just don't find it funny. Like, sometimes it's not like, I mean, like, well, because sometimes it's like if you tell an older generation a joke from nowadays, they might not even get it. But then if you tell like a new generation a joke from the old days, they might get it, but they're like, it's not funny. Like, why is it funny? And uh like, you could almost say that with puns, like, oh, if you make a pun, why is it funny? Like, oh, you made a connection with this word and this word. Why is that funny? Like, it's cool, I guess, and it's like it's smart, but why is it funny?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just, it's interesting that there's almost the difference between between getting it and thinking it's funny, but or not getting it and not thinking it's funny too.
True. And you can see like what's the word, pattern that behind a lot of jokes is differing levels of shock factor. So I think one of the basic things for a lot of jokes is the fact that it comes with, like, the punchline usually comes unexpectedly or like with surprise, right? Like, have you ever thought about the most classic oldest joke in, you know, in today's society is an anti joke?
Which joke is that?
So, like, why did the chicken cross the road?
Oh, okay.
To get to the other side. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's an anti joke,
True.
and yet it's lasted so long throughout history.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and people have taken it and morphed it, and you know, there's different variations of it, different endings, but the same basic premise of the joke is still there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and
Well,
it
okay.
speaks. So go ahead.
And so, almost going on that, like, there's the joke, like, why did the chicken cross the playground to get to the other slide? And it's like, all that is just a play on the words of the original joke, which is an anti-joke. And it's
Yeah.
like, what is why is it funny to say to get to the other slide instead of the other side? It's like, oh, you made a reference there to like the other joke, and it sounds like it, but it's like, it's not funny in the sense of like, it's not the same kind of funny as um a joke that is normal. I can't think of one right now. But
Yeah, I was about to say, is like, what would you consider to be a normal joke that is, you know, I guess operationally funny?
well, like, I I walked in my door and my dog. I can't make up a joke. I'm trying to make up a joke. I can't think of one, so I was trying to make up one.
My room was so small that when I stuck my key in to open the door, I broke a lamp.
I don't think that would be a traditional funny joke either, necessarily, but it's now that I say it, it's like I can't think of it, but it's like the old classic jokes, like
It's like a knock.
no, like something funny happens kind of joke, like let me just Google one real quick.
Kind of like a situational irony.
Oh yeah, kind of like Sherlock Holmes and Watson are out in the woods, and they were camping in their tents and whatever. And in the middle of the night, Sherlock woke up Watson, and he's like, "Watson, look up at the stars and tell me what you see, and then tell me what that means to you." And Watson's like, "Well, if you look up at all the stars, that means there's lots of different planets. If there's lots of different planets, that means that there might be another planet out there like Earth, and if there's another planet out there like Earth, there might be another planet out there with life. So there might actually be intelligent life on another planet." And then Sherlock says, "No, Watson, you idiot! It means someone stole our tent."
Yeah. No, yeah.
So it's like that's like, I guess it would be situational irony, right? Yeah, because you were thinking one thing
so.
and then something else happened. But
Yeah.
And that's kind
That
of
is-
branching off that idea of the unexpected.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Which I feel
with,
like. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, with the other slide, or with puns in general, it's just like slightly ironic, but at the same time, it's almost connected to making a reference as well, which is interesting. Which is why
True.
I found that it's slightly interesting why puns are considered funny. Like sometimes they're funny because it's just so ridiculous, but then that's a different type of humor too.
Mhm.
So
True. Yep. And what was I gonna say? Dang it, I forgot.
Come on, man.
Gosh. It was oh yeah, I feel like a lot of the Gen Z people that I've been seeing around have really gone into that shock factor with like a lot of the either the TikToks or the Vines or a lot of the video memes have really gotten into that shock factor, but it's a little bit more so. It's not as subtle as it used to be
Yeah, exactly.
because it'll be like literally it's like what is it? Someone there's a video that someone made is like this is how my dreams are, and this guy's like walking around, stumbling around. He's like, where did I leave my keys, man? And the camera pans over to this like open spot in a forest, and he's like, where's my car? And then it pans up, and a TV is falling from the sky, and it just crashes into the middle of the thing. And then it ends. That's it. But it's just like it's again like it's that shock factor. You're like almost all the time watching these newer videos. You're just like, what the crap is going on?
Yeah.
And that somehow makes it funny.
It's also like the unexpected and also the ridiculous adds to it too, because if you just do something unexpected at time, it's like, what are you doing? Or like, whoa, what's going on? But if it's ridiculous and unexpected, it makes it almost emphasizes both of them. Because you can have jokes that are just unexpected or just ridiculous. But
Exactly.
if you have both of them, it also usually enhances the other.
True. Now I've got a question. So like with what about people who are like seeking funny or like they're expecting funny? Like how to like I'm trying to fit that into the framework.
I
Because
read this thing that said never start a story out that's like saying, oh, you'll find this funny or this is hilarious, because then you're setting people up to expect it, and if it's not funny to them, if it's not their kind of funny, then they're not going to laugh because they were expecting it. But if you just tell them the story, sometimes they'll find it funny because it was unexpected,
My
or
gosh,
kind of
that
thing.
makes so much sense. Because like,
Interesting.
especially with this generation as well. I don't know why I keep saying this generation. I'm old.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the popular generation that you see
Yes.
on everything, so
Exactly. The one that's in the spotlight right now.
it might not even be
Um,
this generation, more like this culture.
True.
Yeah.
This culture, that's a better way. But like, it's we all know about those videos or those sites or those, clickbait articles and stuff like that. Like, you'll never believe what he did next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like, this had me laughing, this had me rolling. And like a lot of people are just like, once they see that, they're like, no,
Yep.
just keep scrolling. They're not gonna buy into it.
I do that. I never click on those titles. I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. Unless it's interesting, and like it's like even if this was a clickbait title, it'd still be interesting. No.
Exactly. And there's this one guy on Facebook all the time. I see his videos, and it's like, this one person is doing something normal, and this other person is like hiding behind a counter or a door, and they're like, looking at the camera and doing like a kind of motion, and they're about to surprise him, and it's like obviously they would know you were there.
Yeah.
And also like whenever they're doing like a surprise or a scare or whatever, the video is like 4 minutes long, and 3 minutes and 55 seconds of it is just the build up, and
Yeah.
it's so frustrating.
True story.
I can just tell by the first few seconds of those videos of whether it's that kind of video or not, and by that time I'm still scrolling.
Well, and also that's kind of related. The build up is also really heavily tied into certain humor and like certain jokes too.
Yeah,
Because
true.
like the
It's
build up for the JT's joke is all about how it's so long and you finally get there, but there's nothing there, and it's funny that
exactly.
Yeah, there's
you
nothing
weren't,
there. Exactly.
and that you weren't
Exactly.
expecting it, and it's like this person is trolling me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like also as time has gone on, build-ups have become so much shorter.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I
'Cause
think that
I'm
also has to do with the attention span with like TikTok
Mhm.
and social media and stuff
Yeah,
too.
the hyper shortage of media.
Hmm.
True.
Mhm.
Very
And
true.
so I was just thinking about that because I was thinking I have some audio tracks from like Bill Cosby and Jerry Clower stuff.
I don't know Jerry Clower.
You need to look him up. He's an old comedian. Um, he's from Mississippi. I think either Mississippi or Louisiana. He's got an amazing Southern voice, but he does a lot of like funny stories kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So like him and Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby a little bit shorter, but especially Jerry Clower. Jerry Clower, like all of his jokes have like a good 3 minute build up. But it's a story, Like he'll
Yeah,
tell a
yeah.
story and it's going through, going through, going through. He'll have some funny bits in there, but it's all leading up to the big slam, the big punchline at the end that makes it all worth it.
Good point. Yeah.
But like, you've seen as it goes through that it's kind of like, especially in stand up, it's kind of like, I mean, stand up, you can get away with a little bit more build up because that's just how you do stand up.
Yeah, yeah. Because you also have to keep their attention.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
plus, like, I mean, in stand up, you've pretty much got their attention because you're on a platform and they've paid to come see you. So they're kind of like,
Oh, yeah. I just mean like you
whether
don't
they're
want them
willing
to
or not.
zone out. Like if they're
True.
listening to a speaker go on and on, like you have to make it engaging, but at the same time, if you just, I don't know. For some people, like I think it's like Ricky Gervais or Gervais or whatever his name is. Like it's just one liner after one liner. I don't like those. It's just
Yeah.
I prefer the. I mean, I don't mind one liners every now and then, but I prefer the stories, and it's like you're listening to someone talk, um, like their jokes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Same.
kind of also related, I don't know, like Bill Cosby is, since he's super controversial, or I mean, not maybe not controversial. He's just he's just like been in the he's not as great of a guy as people were thinking he was, because of everything that surfaced. But
Yeah.
with his jokes, like people will be like, oh, like he's bad, so you shouldn't listen to his jokes. But it's like it's still funny. Like
Yeah,
his
exactly.
jokes are still funny. Like just because he's a bad person doesn't mean that his jokes aren't funny. But then it goes back to like, are you supporting him by listening to it, or are you being associated with him for listening to his jokes? And it's like
Yeah.
jokes can just be jokes sometimes. Like you can just
Hmm.
you don't even have to worry about everything that was surrounding the joke. The joke is still just funny. So
Exactly.
that also is something that is kind of related to this topic.
Hmm. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it also, I mean, it kind of comes back to comedy, especially from comedians. All they're doing is pointing out like the funny things of life that all of us experience.
Hmm.
You know, the more relatable a joke is, the harder it's going to hit. And
True.
so, like, I mean, I've always thought that the best comedians are some of the most observant people in the world because they can pick up so many subtle things and
Hmm.
point it out. And it's pretty much like, what everybody's been thinking, and they're saying what everybody's been wanting to say, and they can get that catharsis, that release
Hmm.
from that.
I was just telling my parents about catharsis and Dr. Bruce using that term.
Nice.
Yeah, like you know, a really good and funny comedian is someone who literally just kind of pulls the curtain back,
Hmm.
right? They just kind
Yeah.
of pull the curtain of society back and just like, hey, did you guys see all this? I know you're all thinking it. I'm just pointing it out,
Hmm.
and we get a collective laugh out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice. So to turn things a little bit more to the dark side,
Oh no, they
and
have
a
movies.
little yes. Oh my gosh, Joy just said the same thing. Um,
Hey, great minds think alike,
um,
but
but
fools rarely differ.
so yeah, so talking about dark humor, um, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on dark humor?
um, it it depends on how dark you mean and about like what topics, because I know there are a lot of uh topics that are like distasteful, but
Yeah.
like because there's lots of rape jokes out there, but I read online a lot about how people who went through it actually find like it they like those jokes because it's uh I don't know, it helps them deal with what they went through. I mean, it's not
Hmm.
every single person, of course, and some of them get super um affected by that type of joke, but it's like there's like like morally speaking, you should definitely be sensitive to everybody and like not be trying to go out of your way, or like just either like you don't need to just be willy-nilly about certain things like that, but at the same time it is it's not your responsibility for how they react, because certain people react certain ways to certain things and you can't know everybody the way everybody's going to react. So you
Exactly.
shouldn't be solely responsible if, like, say you're telling a joke and then they happen to walk by or something like that,
Hmm. Exactly.
versus like you walking up to them and telling them that joke because
Yeah.
you know what happened to them or something like that. So it's like,
But you know what's funny? Your face.
yeah,
Jeez.
and it turns out that the person had surgery on their face and you didn't know about it. It's like, oh, you just hurt their feelings. Like, well, I wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
And it also
Hey,
goes to also like, how could you know? Like, if you had a reasonable
exactly.
way to know that that happened, then you should be more careful or more sensitive. but at the same time, if they come to you, like if you're telling a joke and then they come to you, it's not necessarily like, yeah, it's like it's really hard to say who's at fault because it's a really tricky area, but at the same time, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, how people react is up to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's hard, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing that I can do that will make you react. It's how you take my words and internalize them. So
Exactly.
but at the same time, if you go out of your way, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
changes it a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
so,
And true. It's the same thing as like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, kind of thing.
oh yeah,
But
I never
it's
thought about it like that.
it's kind of like that because I mean, if you say a joke and then someone's like, oh, you shouldn't make it like my cousin did went through that or something like that, or I have a problem with that or something like that. Then from then on, your
Like,
limitations.
we respect them. Like,
Yeah,
everybody deserves respect, but
you
at the
can't fault
same
someone
time,
for not knowing and yet still knowing.
yeah, yeah. But it's like you shouldn't. But I mean, you should also respect yourself in the sense like if you think this is funny, it's like no, you can still do that, but also have respect for other people. Like, so sometimes you need to respect the person who was injured and stuff, but sometimes the person who was injured needs to respect the person who's telling the joke too. So like sometimes it's not, maybe it's not that big of a deal. It's like at the end of the day, these are just jokes. Like people don't mean them. Like if they meant
Hmm.
them, then it wouldn't really be a joke. It might be
Yeah,
funny, but it wouldn't be a joke. And so it's like if they
true.
are just telling a joke, then you should start that off by, I mean, with the realization, or go into that with the realization that it is just a joke. This isn't someone spouting their philosophy of life, which is
Yeah,
also
exactly.
similar to the Joker, which I don't know if we were talking about that here earlier, but we were talking about that at some point today. And with the Joker, it's like that people were saying, "Oh, it promotes this, it does this. It's not a good movie to be showing people nowadays with the environment of our society." It's like, guys, you realize this is a villain's movie, and you don't want to be the villain. The
Yeah,
villain is the
exactly.
bad guy. So this movie isn't promoting it; it's showing how it happens. And so
Hmm.
it's not like, oh, this is a good guy, be like him. No, this is the bad guy who does bad stuff.
Exactly.
Why would you use this person as a role model?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
so it's kind of
Yeah.
that too. Like, he gotta go into it realizing these are just words. It's not gonna change reality. Oh, I went to the comedy show and the person and the comedian said something about the Lord and I was offended, and the next day I woke up with leprosy. Like, no, nothing happens if you're offended, and nothing happens if you tell a joke. It's just it's all internal. So it's like you don't go out and say a joke in the woods and turn the leaves blue, like, or kill, you don't kill bushes when you say a bad joke. Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
that actually happens. It's all up to the individual. So
Yeah. Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
and that's also taking into consideration of like, yeah, what's it like, uh what's the word, um ideologically, funny is funny, not funny is not funny, no matter who you are and no matter
mhm,
what you're saying. But you know morally, you know biblically, as Christians, we have a responsibility to be sensitive to people's things. And I know that we already like cover that, but
mhm.
I just want to make sure that people listening to us don't think that we're supreme douchebags.
We're not?
What?
Really?
Really, Raggy?
Really? But that's the other thing too. Like, I don't really necessarily agree with, or I don't like it. It's like you have to put all these disclaimers like, "Oh, I don't believe that. I'm saying this, but I don't
Yeah,
like we're not terrible." It's like we never said this, so why would you think this kind of thing. It's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
we were like just then, like when you said we have to say this, like this is what we're supposed, like if you know us, that should be a given. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
shouldn't be like you shouldn't be questioning what's us if you know us.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I guess if you don't know us, maybe, but then even then, it's like we never said this. Like, we never said
Exactly.
what you would be thinking. So why should we be like? Because a lot of people get bashed
Mhm.
for that, and it's like, oh, they didn't say like they didn't give any disclaimers. Like they shouldn't have to unless there's reason for you to think otherwise. That
Exactly. I
like
feel like
there's still ways for things to fit into the cracks without like what I mean.
Mhm. I struggle with that sometimes because, like, you know, at some on one side that I think the same way. Like, I really feel like, we shouldn't have to put all these disclaimers on here because, I mean, you shouldn't cast judgment on someone you don't know.
Hmm.
And, yeah, you just don't know the intention of what they're saying.
Hmm.
Um, but, then at the same time, like, it's so hard to not do that because of today's cancel culture is
Hmm.
so powerful because one person saying, saying their interpretation of what you did despite your
Hmm.
intention can crumble everything.
Hmm.
True.
But I'm not justifying anything. But yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just never do. I almost never. I mean, sometimes that is bad for me, I guess, because people think something, but I just don't care. So I just never give any. I sometimes I do, but I actually try not to give disclaimers because I'm like, I don't need to. I don't need to justify myself until it comes up. So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say anything. And
There you
sometimes
go.
I get taken the wrong way, but I'm like, that's your fault. It's not my fault.
Mhm.
Technically
Yeah.
speaking, I mean, I could
For
definitely
sure.
help you in understanding, but I'm not obligated to help you because you're
Mm.
a grown adult, so you should be able to think for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so back to dark humor. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
right, that's what we started on.
I have a question though, like what you were saying with about the like I guess the way of healing with rape victims. Could that be chalked up to repression or suppression?
What do
Or
you mean?
like is it shown that them making jokes about it or like hearing jokes about it actually does help their healing process?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps. Well, I mean, this is just from Reddit, so
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, and like forums, so it's like uh, it's not like scientific studies. It's just word of mouth kind of thing. But
Okay.
people who are saying like it helps them like because if you can make light of it, then it doesn't feel as bad, and
Mhm.
things like that. If you like, if you're able to like not think about it, if you're able to think about it and it's in a lighter setting, then it's like it helps you deal with the more serious aspect of what happened. And so
Mm.
it's like it doesn't. It's not. It's like um, it's part of like finding the good or like the positive in every situation kind of
Mm,
thing. Not exactly like that because there isn't really a positive there, but it's like how can I see this as funny so that it doesn't feel as serious or as bad for me kind of thing.
yeah, exactly,
So
yeah.
it's
Just
also kind of a coping mechanism too, I would
mm,
think.
yeah. It could even connect to the idea of, resiliency.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what is that like a specific idea or is that like
Um, it has its own definition in counseling,
okay, that's what
terminology.
I felt like you were using it like a term like that kind of terminology is like
Let
resiliency.
let
The,
me, pull up a definition for you. Um, General definition of resiliency is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. So it's just that it's like perseverance,
oh, okay, so it
essentially.
is like the normal definition.
Mhm. They use it a lot with within the counseling and therapy world, because
Mhm.
it's the idea that all of us as humans have that sense of resiliency. We just have to tap into it.
Mhm.
JT, what are your thoughts? You've been kind of taking a back seat a little bit.
Well, I've just been listening mainly because I'm just kind of in an absorb mode because I know very little about this.
Uh,
So rather than putting my foot in my mouth and saying something crazy, I'll just listen.
Well, we say
And if I have
crazy
a
things
thought,
on the daily.
do I?
We say crazy things on the daily.
This is true. This is true.
It's just true.
We also put our foot in our mouths on the daily.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I have a foot-shaped mouth.
Foot-shaped mouth.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
He's been putting his foot in his mouth so long that his mouth now looks like his foot. Is what I thought he meant, but
Oh, you said
No.
shaped. Foot-shaped mouth?
Yes,
yeah.
shaped.
What did you think he said?
I thought he said shamed, like his foot
Foot
shamed his
shamed
mouth.
mouth.
I was very
His foot
confused.
has shamed his mouth.
I was not
Yeah,
sure what's going on.
Now I see. I see.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where if I do headstands, then I can just hop around like a VeggieTale
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes.
walk around.
I got you now. I got you.
But dark humor, I don't know. I personally, it's not funny. It's not the same kind of funny. It's more of like so shocking. Like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
It's so horrible that it's like the shock factor, but it's a different type of. It's not something like, oh, this is like a situation that would be hilarious to find yourself in, even if you were in it. It's usually horrifying if you found yourself in that
it's just
position,
like
but it's like
Exactly.
it's so ridiculous of a situation and so ridiculous as something for someone to say, especially with like dead baby jokes and the like where did Susie go when the bomb went off? Everywhere. It's just so ridiculous.
it's
And
terrible.
like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like
And you just
you
kind of
didn't
like,
expect it to be that bad. It's
Yeah.
just
you're like, hang on a minute.
yeah, because
Dang, son.
it's really offensive. Like they're all really offensive.
True.
Yeah.
But they're at the same time, it's so offensive, it just becomes like, can you even fathom how offensive it is that it's just like, okay, it almost makes it different.
Right.
Yeah.
That's for me, that's how it is with dark humor, because I'm not like, there are certain types of dark humor that are, I find funny like that, but there are definitely some that I don't find funny, but I would understand why some people would, because I have, like, it's the similar type of concept.
Hmm.
Like maybe it's past the boundary for me, but for someone else it might not be. And like,
Yeah.
because we do have our own boundaries, but that's different than saying this is how it should be across the board boundaries. Like nobody should find this funny. So it is like, again, like a spectrum, and then it's a personal spectrum or an
Sure.
individual spectrum.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool. Well, are there any other thoughts that you have, guys, or do you want to move into our next, our little bit at the end?
No, I'm all good. If you want to hit us some random bullcrap, go. Well, tell me you know what that's from in light of the recent trailer that dropped.
Is it from Moon Knight?
Have you seen that? Have you seen that meme that's been floating around?
No.
I don't think so.
I
Oh.
haven't seen the Moon Knight trailer either, so that's
Oh,
why I
gotcha.
was.
Well, yeah, it's a comic. It's a scene from a Moon Knight comic, and he's throwing his little moon darts and the or whatever. I don't know what they are, but and it's the the little chap or the little bubble there says random BS go. It's just kind of
Oh yeah,
you know
I've
what I'm
seen
talking
that
about.
before. Yep, yep. Okay,
Anyways,
I've got some would you rather questions for you guys.
oh no,
Here we go.
Would you rather?
Would you rather? Would you rather, Brez? Yeah. Would you rather have skin that changes color based on your emotions, or tattoos appear all over your body depicting what you did yesterday?
Wait, every day would be what you did yesterday?
Yeah.
Like it would change every day?
Mm-hmm.
I would do the skin.
I was gonna say, I think
Or
I'd rather have
emotions.
my skin change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're probably gonna see a whole lot of me just lying on the couch like a slob.
Just a lot of
Yes.
self-portraits on your body.
Yes, like one of those Renaissance era paintings of just someone like lounging out across a couch with grapes in their hand
Yeah.
or something.
I'm just imagining, like, the Adam pose on, like, the
Yes.
was it? Yeah. And it's like he's like laying with his hand outstretched like that. But then I'm imagining you in that position, and then over on this other side is the TV and the remote, and it's over there on the other side.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it.
So far away. It's so far.
So far.
Yeah, I think I'd go with the skin color as well.
No,
Feel like
definitely.
a human chameleon.
Yep. So
Just
that
start
way,
turning
A
just
human
start
mood
turning
ring.
black when I'm about to die.
yeah. The only issue with that is then you could never hide anything from your wife again.
Well, that's normal.
That's normal.
True. I mean, you're not wrong, but somehow they always
it'd
know.
just be
Don't
way
they?
more obvious.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Okay. Would you rather be able to take back anything you say or hear, or no? Okay. Would you? Oh, never mind. I read that wrong. Would you rather be able to take back anything you say, or hear any conversation that is about you?
Ooh. Jackie, I want you to answer that first.
I think I do. I was thinking about it, but I think hear about any conversation about me is what I would do, because taking back what I said, I usually don't say anything that I wouldn't say to somebody's face. Yeah, I mean, there's things that I would say that I'd prefer not for them not to hear, but at the same time, because I usually make a rule that if I'm gonna say it behind their back, I should say it to their face. I may not want to say it to their face, but if at the end of the day, if they did hear it, I'm not gonna be super mad that they heard it. Like I shouldn't have said that. It's like I needed to say it, but there's a time and a place kind of thing. But
Yeah.
taking back, although I do say a lot of stupid things that, like, I say jokes that nobody gets, and then nobody laughs, and I just feel that feeling, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
So now that I'm thinking about it like that, that is a hard one.
Now,
But
I think I would rather take back what I say, personally.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
because you can ask Faith. You can call her right now. I say a lot of dumb things.
As I have mentioned, I have a foot-shaped mouth.
Yes. I have very
So
now that I
I
know
will.
that you meant shaped, not shamed, I also have a
Yes.
shaped mouth.
Nice.
I have a mouth-shaped foot.
Yes.
I eat dust everywhere I go. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Would you rather have a third nipple or an extra toe?
What?
How do either of those help in any way? I mean, an extra toe, you could be like, "Hey guys, look at my foot."
Yeah,
Check
I don't
it
know.
out.
I feel like an extra toe is less weird.
Although an extra nipple may help you at the doctor, because don't they have to put things like different thing like sensors or things in certain scenarios, like a surgery or
No
something?
idea.
No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't think
I don't think
so.
so.
Oh, okay. I was wrong
I haven't
then.
heard of that.
I thought, well, don't they, like in movies, like you just see them have those little clear plastic things on their chest that are connected to wires and stuff?
Yes, those are like just measuring your heart rate and your blood pressure.
Oh, but they don't go on your nipples.
They don't go in your nipples.
Oh,
I think
I
what
thought
you're
they
No.
did.
I think what you're confusing that with is the machine from Princess Bride, where they put the cups, suction cups, on his nipples, and somehow that sucked the life out of him.
Oh,
I
that, yeah.
I actually haven't seen that movie in a long time, but maybe I was, because I've seen it, but I haven't watched it in a long.
That's the only thing that I remember of anything like that, with something connected to the nipple.
Well, there's also the Mad Max one, kind of, where they suck the milk out of the.
Oh, true.
But that's not what I was thinking of.
That's
I
not-
know that's not what I was thinking of.
I'd like to have an extra toe, but have one on coming out of my heel, so I can be like talons of a bird.
I don't think you get to choose a spot.
Crap.
Wait,
Up from the top.
What if you had your toe on your
Oh
chest?
my god.
Or what if you had your
Oh my
nipple on
God.
your foot?
Oh
Would
no!
that change it? Would that change it?
Okay, all right. Next question.
You just had a toe on your
Moving
chest.
on.
Next question.
Oh my gosh. That would actually, if you switch them, which one would be worse? Or are we just moving on? Okay.
Moving
We're
on.
good.
It got too weird there.
Would
You crossed the line.
rather? Oh, okay. Would you rather you to not only to only be able to talk to your dog, or for your dog to be able to talk to only you and everyone thinks you're nuts?
Oh wait, what was the first one?
Yeah, say that again.
So would you rather would you rather to only be able to talk to your dog, or for your dog to be able to only talk to you?
So my choices are: I can only ever talk to my dog, and that's the only thing that I can ever talk to again.
Or
Yes.
did you just mean that you could only talk to just you can't talk to dogs, but you can talk to your dog? Is that what it means?
No. I think the way that I'm interpreting this sentence, because I mean, the word "only" can modify a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
I think the way I'm interpreting this is that if you can communicate verbally to any other living creature, it's only to your dog. That's one option. Or for your dog is now able to verbally communicate in a language you can understand, but only to you. It won't talk to anybody else.
That's not really an option, because why would you only want to talk to your dog?
Yeah.
I know.
I think it sounds better where it's you can talk to animals, but I mean it's only your dog, versus your dog can just talk to you. But
Yeah, that's a harder decision. That's a harder choice to make.
Yeah.
because if you only talk to your dog, that means that you don't have can they talk? Because they can understand you, but they can't talk back to you, versus they can talk to you, but you might not be able to talk to them or have them understand. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd honestly I'd choose where my dog would only be able to talk to me, because then I'd get to hear all this background stuff.
It would be interesting. Yeah. I guess for purposes of science, it would be better to do that, because then it'd be are they thinking just food, toy, entertainment, versus the human is gone, I am sad, or
an actual intelligent conversation.
Yeah, wait, did you guys see? Because my Jessica showed me this thing. There's this dog on TikTok where she presses buttons, and she knows enough
seen that.
buttons and different words that she can form sentences. She was like "dad poop" or "dad walk," and then she would press the one for her name or something, and things like that. So there's actually a study being done by I don't know if it was a scientist or if it was a university, on the dog, to see if she's actually thinking these sentences out, or if she's just doing it because that's what she's been trained. Yeah, conditioned to do.
That is really interesting. Yep. I would say that she's probably been conditioned. I mean, I feel I feel like she probably isn't I can definitely say that she's communicating, but I don't
Mhm.
think that she's like using language. You know?
I think because dogs understand words, so I think that if they're able to understand them, they would also be able to use them. But since they can't talk, they never do. But with the buttons, they know which ones stand for this, and so they can use them to communicate back. Because if you're able to understand it, it makes sense that you're able to give it back the same way if you actually understand it. So it's like
Yeah.
um, it may not be the same as um, like they have the same mental processes, but they do have um like because like they bark at us and they do stuff towards us to try and communicate with us, but we just never understand it. Like, because they if they want to go outside, they'll be like barking at us and like at the door and trying to get us to understand kind of thing. So that's why
Yeah.
I think if they're able to have the concepts like where they're able to press it as a button and communicate it, they would still be able to communicate in some way. Um, but that's just me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's actually uh, what's going on or not, which I guess is what the study is trying to find out. But
Nice. Yeah, it's entirely possible. Dang. All right, so here's one. Here's one that is that none of y'all need to or should answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather forget your partner's birthday or your anniversary every year? Okay. Anyways, moving on.
I think it would be better to forget their
Okay.
wait, wait, let me think. I think it'd be better to forget the anniversary than the birthday because the birthday is like something about them that is essential to them that's not going to change versus the anniversary that's like kind of just dependent on both of you. Like, so it's like better to forget something that involves half me, half them versus something that's just completely them. Because it's like, if you don't know their birthday, like, do you really care about them that much? I mean, you could also, I mean, I don't know half my friends' birthday, so you could also argue that as well. But at the same time, if it's like your partner, you should know some basic information about them, especially if you have to uh, check out their medical records when you go to the doctor and you have to give the date of birth for HIPAA, and you have people on the phone who are supposed to make sure that they get everything right, but they don't, and it makes other people's jobs harder. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, because the birthday is like more important. It feels like than the
Right.
anniversary
True.
in that sense, because it's about them
Yeah.
versus
All
something
over the
that's for
thing.
both of you.
Yep. Yep. It's yeah. It's thin ice.
It's thin ice. Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
it
Would you?
depends too, like if you're married versus in a relationship.
True.
Also,
Very true. Let's see. So, what about? Oof. Would you rather work the job you have now for a year at double your current rate of pay, or have 1 year off with what you are making now?
Oh heck yeah! 1 year off with what I'm making now.
yeah, I take the year off.
Dang.
You
Yeah,
know what I could do with a whole year of just me doing my own thing?
yeah, with my current
With
salary.
my current salary, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I was actually going to say the other one.
Really?
Yeah.
Idiot. No, I'm
I
just
was
kidding.
gonna. I was gonna say work the job with double the pay.
Are you really making that
Interesting.
much though? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Oh my
kidding.
gosh. I can probably say that I'd be getting paid.
Wait. You should take 3 jobs and then double the pay.
Then
Oh
double.
So you're
wow.
getting overtime, or no,
Oh
actually, I
goodness
guess
gracious.
I guess you wouldn't get overtime if you have multiple jobs, but you have.
Nice.
Wait, but is
Yeah.
there taxes though?
I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, we're getting by with what we're making right now, and so like
True.
for it to be double, we'd have all this extra stuff to be able to get things done.
That is true.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that it would be really, really nice to have a year off and still get paid.
You still get paid.
That would be nice. What about, let's see, would you rather never get another present in your life but always pick the perfect present for everyone else, or keep getting presents but giving terrible ones to everyone else?
The first
I
one.
mean, you could always give people money, and can't go wrong with money.
Once you give money to people and be like, do you think that I'm a stripper? What are you doing?
Or you give them money and it's like got COVID on it or something.
Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
You never get presents though.
That's true.
That would suck if your love language is gifts.
It's a good thing my love language isn't gifts.
Yeah, there you go. Same. Would you rather clean up someone else's vomit or someone else's blood?
Blood, hands down.
Oh. I've cleaned up vomit and I've cleaned up blood.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
done both.
I've cleaned up my own vomit, and I've cleaned up my own blood, but also someone else's blood.
I think blood, because vomit has a smell and blood doesn't have a smell.
Well, blood
It has a smell.
has a
It's
smell,
not
but
a
only after
bad
a
smell.
while.
It's nowhere near as bad as vomit.
That's true.
I think I'd
'Cause-
have more of a reflex reaction to smelling vomit than blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which reminds me of a story, if I can tell one right quick.
Oh yeah,
Go for it.
definitely.
So when I was working at one of my other older jobs with I was working in retail, right? I was at the self-checkout area. I had this one lady come to, that section, but then she laid down her groceries at the kiosk at one of the stations, and then she went past me and said, "Hey, I've like," she had opened up a packet of pads. Is either pads or tampons.
Okay, that kind of pads. I'm like, what? What do
Yeah,
you mean pads?
and she had one in her hand, and she's like, "Hey, I've kind of got an emergency. Like, can I use this right quick? Can I just go to the restroom right quick?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally, you can go." So she's like, "Okay, thank you." She goes in, gets it all, situated. She comes back out. She said, "Thank you so much." Finishes her things and then leaves. Right. Then as I'm walking around, kind of like, just doing my thing, I look down and I notice that there are like heel prints on the floor that are red.
Mm.
And so I realized that was probably from the lady who had like an emergency. It was probably dripping down her leg down to her feet.
Mm.
And it took someone else coming out of the ladies' bathroom to tell me that there was kind of like a little bit of a puddle in the ladies' restroom.
Oh man.
So I
That's
feel really bad.
yeah.
But I had to clean up all that from like on the outside. I wasn't. I mean, someone else went into the restroom to clean up that part, but I cleaned up the
Oh, yeah.
part. Oh Lord.
I mean, I wouldn't feel bad cleaning that up because I would just feel so bad for her.
Yeah. No, I didn't have a problem cleaning it up. Yeah, I felt so.
Yeah. I mean, I worked in janitorial, sanitation, whatever. So it doesn't bother me as much as
Janitation, sanatorial,
yes, exactly.
Whatever.
janitorialtation.
Janitorialtation.
Okay. So. Oh frick.
Uh-oh.
What?
All right. This is a good one to end on. Would you rather end every phone call with "I love you," or accidentally call your partner the wrong name during a fight?
Wait. What was the first
In
one?
every
End every conversation.
Every phone call with "I love you."
Oh,
Either
I'm
end
ending
every
every
phone
phone
call
call.
with it, or accidentally call your partner the wrong name during a fight.
Nope.
wait, just once? Just once?
I don't know. It just says accidentally call your partner the wrong name during a fight. Yeah, I guess just
one
one.
time or every single conversation? Like, is it just every single conversation with your partner?
I don't think it matters.
No, it just says.
If I have to say I
end
love
every
you
phone
to
call.
all of my friends, my boss, and every single conversation, I would do I would do the other one because it's just one time. Like, do you know how many people would be like, "What the heck is wrong with this person?"
Okay, to give you some perspective, Joey says it only takes once for me to decide that I want to leave you.
I mean, there's always another partner, obviously.
Oh my god!
You call them the wrong name.
Okay, before we all get murdered, how do we end the show on that?
Yep. Now that we've got targets on our
I'm
backs.
just kidding.
Woo.
Anyways, well, that was fun. Do you guys have any last minute comments?
Oh, I'm glad I'm not married right yet. I can still make these comments and not get in trouble. Apparently, 'cause that's what it sounds like. You guys get
Oh my
in
gosh.
trouble.
Yep.
Well, Drayton, I think it's time for your line.
Time for my line. Yep.
The punchline.
Yes, everybody. Please be sure to subscribe and make sure that you leave the like button on this video. Also, make sure you take a look out to make sure that you are staying up to date. I'm doing a horrible job of this.
It's okay, buddy. I love you.
Okay.
Please update, subscribe, and like the comments that we post.
Yes. Yeah. And also make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We've got some really cool small videos there that we're
No.
uploading.
Don't follow us. You gotta
Stalk us.
chat us. You gotta Insta message us and
Yep.
tell us that you
DM
want
us.
to follow us.
Yes.
And then we will decide whether you can press the follow button or not. And then
Oh my
after that,
gosh.
we'll have another screening to see if we want
Yep.
we want to let you
There's
if we want to
3
accept it or
rounds
not.
of debate, and yeah.
Yes, each
And
person
voting.
does each one. There's three levels for each member of the member of the whatever we have going on here.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for listening. I hope you had a blast. We will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah.